Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
I'm gonna get so much hate for this vlog. So, bottom line up front, remember that this is all just one person's opinion. I'm just giving you my honest, unbiased thoughts on this from one teen's point of view. You may agree, you may disagree, and there's no right or wrong answers to this.
Put your manners back in.
But I recently got back from our first Yellowstone vacation, and I really found myself comparing it to a Disney World vacation in my head and thinking about which was better. So for the purposes of this video, I'm taking into consideration all national parks vacations that I've taken: Yellowstone and Grand Teton, Grand Canyon, Shenandoah National Park, and Hawaii Volcanoes National Park. And I'm comparing my overall thoughts on those in comparison to my average Disney Parks vacation. Keep in mind, this may not apply to your kid. We all have different ideas of fun. First, a quick reminder that my content is not sponsored in any way. Well, except by my parents who are nice enough to take me on vacations. But that means that we pay for everything, so that I can give you unbiased reviews and complete honesty. So if you like unbiased videos, I hope you'll consider subscribing. And I also want, for the first time ever, to thank a few of my wonderful viewers who actually hit that super thanks button and sent me a few dollars. That was so incredible. And even though I'm almost positive one of them came from my grandma, that meant that two were unrelated to me. So that's really mind-blowing. I just feel so honored that you are letting me help you all plan your next getaway. Because let's face it, travel is expensive. Says the kid whose parents are still paying for her trips. So while we're talking about expenses, let's compare that aspect of these vacations. On that front, regardless of where you might stay in Disney World, the national parks will come out way ahead. I think the only exception would be if you had someplace free to stay near Disney, like a relative or friend's home, that would make up for the crazy expensive tickets you need to buy to get into the parks. National parks are way cheaper. In fact, for this trip to Yellowstone I just got back from, we only had to pay $35 for a 7-day pass for the park for all three of us. Compare that to a Disney Park Hopper 7-day ticket, which is $577 each, which means my family of three would pay $1,731 just to get into the parks. That's not even including all those extra things they've been pushing lately, like lightning lanes or Disney Genie Plus. So bam, right there, that national park vacation is way cheaper. Hotels in the national parks and the surrounding areas are actually pretty expensive. The place we stayed at in West Yellowstone was about as expensive as one of the moderately priced Disney hotels. So when comparing hotels, so long as you're not hoping to stay in one of Disney's luxury hotels, the comparison is pretty much a wash. Food will definitely be cheaper in national parks than at Disney World. And I think the quality is about equivalent, unless if you're eating at those really fancy places at Disney that I've never been to. I'm looking at you, Victoria and Alberts. You're too pricey for my family. I can't compare the costs to get to the national parks versus Disney World because that all depends on where you live. But outside of that, for this round of our SmackDown, national parks definitely came out ahead when it comes to the price. So let's move on to the thrill factor. And this is a tough one because I'm a huge fan of thrill rides. And Disney has some really good ones, and I especially love all the theming around their rides. Like even when I'm in line for Tower of Terror or Expedition Everest, I'm immediately starting to get excited for it. So you'd think that national parks would fall behind in this area. But there's a much more real and frankly terrifying thrill that comes with driving along a road in Yellowstone and then looking over and seeing that if your car veers to the right just a matter of a few feet, you will plummet to certain death. And yes, I really did experience that in Yellowstone. which was unexpected. I had no idea just how high up those roads were or how steep the drop-off was gonna be. I know I'm 16 and I should be anxious to be behind the wheel of any car at this age, but on this trip, I was really happy that Dad was driving. Not to mention, there's the thrill of seeing an entire herd of bison right next to your car, and knowing that if you got too close to them, they could easily kill you. Or how about the Grand Canyon and standing alongside a drop-off that even now makes me sweat? Even though we went to the Grand Canyon almost 10 years ago. Or when I went to Volcanoes National Park and saw actual lava coming out of the earth. Sorry Disney, but all of your contrived and controlled, and let's face it, entirely safe thrill rides are not nearly as epic as any of that. So even though I absolutely love roller coasters and thrill rides, I have to say that a lot of national parks will still come out ahead of Disney. That said, if I were comparing the thrill factor of Disney versus some national parks, like say Shenandoah, I'd have to say that Disney is way ahead. Because Shenandoah is gorgeous and a real national treasure, but there's not as much thrill factor as you might feel at a place like the Grand Canyon. Now, how about the fun factor? And this is a tough one because really, you have to answer that one for yourself. As a teen who does love rides, I'm going to cringe a little as I admit that I think Disney for me has more of that fun factor. I love being able to predictably go on a ride and know that I'm going to come off of it smiling. And even though my last visit to the Disney parks was kind of negative because I spent it in a wheelchair, and yes, I totally owe you a video on that one, so hit that subscribe button so that you'll see it when I post it. Overall, when I look at all my Disney trips that I've been so fortunate to have gone on, I'm going to say that I have more fun at Disney than I do at national parks. But that's just me. A kid who absolutely hates mosquitoes and who's dislocated her knee too many times to really enjoy any strenuous hiking. So if your kid is more outdoorsy than me, they might like national parks better. Also, if I were just comparing Volcanoes National Park in Hawaii to Disney, I'd say that a Hawaii trip will always come out ahead when it comes to fun. Because it's Hawaii, and there are so many things to do there that are fun in addition to the national park. But again, just comparing the park itself to Disney World, I'm going to say for me, anything with roller coasters is usually going to be my preferred form of fun. I know, I worry that I just lost some subscribers by admitting that, but I always promised you I'd be honest. And again, please remember that this is just one kid's opinion. Let's talk about Ambiance next. And when I say ambiance, I mean the prettiness factor. The quality where your eyes are just so happy to be looking at something. I do give major points for Disney here. There's something about looking at Main Street and that castle that just makes me smile every time I go into the Magic Kingdom. But then they lose points, because I look from that beautiful castle downward and see all the crowds and tired, frustrated families, and more recently, all the people struggling with their iPhones as they try to figure out all the different things on Disney's latest apps. And all that prettiness kind of takes a nosedive. And lately, it's become harder and harder to really enjoy the ambience of the parks when we're just looking down at our phones trying to get our lightning lanes or make our Genie Plus work, or panicking because our phone's battery is out and we're just a couple hours into the day. So even though I personally will admit that I think Disney is more fun for me, I have to say that it's the national parks vacations that I'll probably look back on and feel like they made me a better person somehow. Made my family stronger, made my views of our natural world a little broader. I mean, Disney is one of those bucket list things that people want to do, but it was created by money and imagination. The national parks are different. Their creation, their beauty is really nothing short of a miracle. And the fact that we as a nation, or specifically some of our leaders, had the foresight to protect them so that they can leave these parks as a legacy to all of us, that's just mind-boggling and humbling at the same time. And it makes me want to do the same, to leave some kind of a positive legacy. So when it comes to memory-making capabilities, national parks come out ahead in my book, especially in my recent trip to Yellowstone, which I'll be posting more about later. So please be sure to hit that subscribe button. Because as I was up on those mountains looking down on Yellowstone, I couldn't help thinking about what that land would look like if we hadn't protected this land. All that beauty would have been filled with hotels and restaurants and subdivisions and highways. And don't we already have enough of that? So yeah, even though if someone told me right now that I could plan a trip for next week, I wish, and I had to choose between Disney World and a national park,
You must choose.
I'll cower in shame as I admit that I'd rather go to Disney World because I love the rides. But I'm going to admit that it's my national park trips that I look back on as life-changing experiences. But everyone is different, and I'd love to hear your insights and ideas in the comments below, because maybe you can help someone decide what's best for their family. Thanks so much for watching and for hitting that subscribe button. And again, thanks to those 3 nice people who sent me super thanks. You made my day.